Hey, how are you?
Hey, right. How are you? Good
Good.
morning.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
Hey,
Good time to apply for Venture X.
Mhm.
It's a good time to.
Hello there. Hi. Good morning. Good. It is morning for everyone, isn't it? Yes. Hey, Chris.
Hey there.
Just gonna wait a couple minutes to see who else shows up. Chris, what's going on in Pueblo? How's your daughter's birthday?
Oh, very good. She had a, we had kind of, my wife and I had a kind of a long work day, but she had fun in between. So, so yeah, it was nice for her. We went to Colorado Springs and played around a little bit afterwards, so it was good.
How far is it to Colorado Springs? It's a little bit of a drive, isn't it?
Yeah, for us, it's about an hour.
Ryan said he's running late, and I don't remember who else is here. But um, yeah, I really do want to get set up for our products, like what's coming next. Allison, you've cloned yourself again.
I think there should just be one now.
Well, I wanted to connect in about the Healthy Housing Coalition. Um, yeah, Ellison was there, Ryan was there, and Kristen, of course, was there because she made everything work. But I wanted the other folks to hear what kind of opportunities there were. So let's see who turns up. Okay, we can do getting to know you while we're waiting for everybody. I don't have a good plan though. Has anyone thought of a question that you wanted to do and you were like, oh, that would be a great one, but can't think of one. Okay, the last meal that you had that you thought that was really amazing. I would totally do that again. Could be home cooked, out, barbecue full of dust and smoke. I'm not going to make someone go first because this is a hard one. I'm struggling. Hey, Stacy, we're kind of waiting for other people and kind of doing a getting to know you. So, Kartik, you're a cook. Can I pick on you? Because
I
you
know, but I was gonna take the easy route though and say that the stuff that I grew, even though they don't taste the best, it's still a special feeling when you eat your own produce. So I'm gonna go with, yeah, anything that I've grown over the summer.
what's in season right now?
A lot of beans. So beans are in, zucchini. We've had like big zucchini.
You
So
gotta watch those guys.
and we have no idea what to do. So we've been making like zucchini cookies, zucchini brownies, zucchini stews, and we still have like tons left. So I don't know what to do with them.
I hear you. So I have a tip for zucchini. Harvest when small. Get them before yeah. Right, Julie, you want to go?
Yeah, when I was visiting Oregon, I had some pasta at some seaside restaurant. It's a local restaurant, and it was really refreshing for me. Like it was really fresh. I didn't have that experience before, and I feel that I should visit Oregon more to have that.
That's the solution.
Yeah.
Kristen?
Gosh, I haven't been out in so long. So I'm gonna choose one that my family will eat because I have two, one teenager and one almost teenager, so they're quite picky or have been. And so it's this Philly cheesesteak like sandwich, but it's like low dairy or no dairy. So we put regular different cheese in it, and it's just kind of ground beef with lots of vegetables, and how I can sneak in some mushrooms and vegetables, but they like absolutely devour it. So, and I love it too. So it's not super complex, but really good.
That's the trick when you have kids.
Yeah. Where can I used to be able to make mac and cheese with butternut squash, but they soon caught on to that one.
Oh,
It only took a few times.
bummer.
Yep.
What do you got, Chris?
It's hard to. I'm not a cook whatsoever, so it's hard to come up with a great last meal. And having said that, my daughter and I could eat Pizza Hut about 5 days a week if allowed to. So I'll just go with that.
They still have the bucket program, Chris?
The bucket program? I don't
No,
know.
book it,
Oh,
book it.
book
Like
it.
where you read books and you get stickers and earn a personal pan pizza.
Uh, not
Maybe
not that
not.
I know of. I think they do have
Yeah.
those personal pans still, but yeah,
Yeah.
we usually get a thin crust pizza with pepperoni and sausage.
Mhm.
So an amazing meal that I just had like last weekend was homemade eggplant parmesan. So I'm part of a CSA, which is like a local farm that we pick up way too many vegetables from each week and can never use them all. So my parents were just visiting, and I think it was kind of funny. It was absolutely delicious. The three different ways that it was made, because my husband won't eat beef, my mother won't have cheese, and and my father wants meat sauce. So we made this incredibly complicated. Everybody got their own personal pan of eggplant parmesan, and all of them were great. That was spaghetti, and it was very good.
That sounds really good. So what came to mind for me, I have a sister who lived in Chicago while she was doing a law school internship. And the thing with law school is they pay you like lawyers. So they try to hook you on the money and get you to go work for their firm and ruin your life. So anyway, so she got used to eating. She became a foodie and got very picky about restaurants. So whenever we go out with her, it's A, really expensive, and B, really good. Fortunately, I'm not her, so I don't have those high standards. But when we last went out with her and her husband, who now live in Denver, we went to Senior Bear, I think. And I love these dinners that are like little bits of things, and every one of them is good. Because I can never choose. So that's what came to mind for me, is my sister spoiling me very, very, very occasionally.
No, that's also a case with me. I'm not a good cook, and last week my sister invited me over for a lunch of traditional dish from Iran, and it's a really hard dish to cook. So during past year, I have never cooked that, so it's a great gift for me.
We all need sisters. You're up, Ellison, and then Ryan, you can be last.
Okay. What came to mind that took last meal, like to be most recent, was less about the food, but more it was during the Olympics. I was hanging out with my parents, and we just didn't have any rush to finish our food. And I think I really enjoyed that. It was just we made sort of a buffet of different things, but could eat together at our own pace, not have to get to something next. That was nice.
I think I'm next. I'm still on my way, so I have my video off. I think for me, actually, like 2 weeks ago, Marin like always is super distracted during her eating, but we took her up to the lake, and something about the lake, she was just like calm and ate her whole dinner, and I was just so excited. It was like, this is the best meal ever. So I don't even remember what food we had.
That's great. That's great. The experience is the thing. Awesome. Okay. Just wanted to, for people who could not come to the Healthy Housing Coalition, I just wanted to report on what people saw. So, and maybe the potential relevance or irrelevance for our work. So of the people who were there, Ellison, Kristen, Ryan, is there someone who wants to go first? Just shouting out your observations of the group.
I can, especially if Ryan's still in transit. The people in the room came from lots of different perspectives on housing, so that I think seemed to meet people's expectations. I think any individual in the room seemed to want to intersect with people that weren't like them. And so it seemed like people were pretty energetic, and there was a lot of side conversations and just general connections. A lot of the people in the end, when they were saying their 5 words, had to do with connectivity or being inspired. So people seem, I would put it as like a 9 out of 10 in terms of positivity at the end. That's more just like how it felt in the room. I think the exercise we did to see like topics or clustered ideas that emerged covered a lot of ground that does have overlap with some of what we do, like in terms of theories of change and how people make decisions, how people get information. There was more of an emphasis on healthy housing, as the name of the group implies. So I think there were some particular topics that don't have as much relevance to our project. But I think the role of intermediaries came up in multiple ways and might be something that Ryan has more to say about. I'll stop there.
So Ryan, I'll say a few words while Ryan's getting to campus. There were just a lot of different people, and one of the things that's always impressed me about that group is the different perspectives on what they want to do in housing. So there's people working on radon, there's people working on secondhand smoke, there's people working on indoor air quality. There were a couple of people from utilities, and then there were people, fairly sizable contingent from a hospital, where they're running programs for children who have asthma, and so going backwards from the endpoint to what might be causing this. I think there was a huge expressed need for, like, people are just doing their little thing in silos, and they could always use help or information because they're typically very resource limited. They don't have the time, bandwidth, or expertise to develop all the information for their clients that they might need. And as well as some of the other, like, you might ask them, would you also like to do this? And the answer would be yes, but we can't. So something that's always impressed me about that group is both the diversity and at the same time the fragmentation of of just like, this person wants to do radon, this person wants to do indoor air quality. They're not they can't talk to each other because the program is limited to just that one thing. And then there were people who are coupling it with energy efficiency, it being improvement of homes for health. And there were many people saying, yes, we should do that, and fewer people being able to do it. And I think it's from ACEEE, Ellison and I brought back this, people are really interested in the what they call the non-energy benefits of electrification or of energy transitions. And then when you see how non-energy benefits operates in the real world, they're not using the same language, right? They're saying, we're just trying to do X, Y, and Z, right? We're just trying to do this one thing. And we know that electrification is happening somewhere else.
Tammy, can I build on, or Kristen, do you want to say something first?
I mean, I don't have a lot to say 'cause I was running around with my head cut off like a chicken. But I wanted to note that like a lot of people were really excited to see what CSU was doing and connecting that to their work day to day. So just that they did lab tours of the House of Pressure and aerosols, so they got to see what Christian and Paul were doing in those areas. And so I think they were really excited just to be a part of seeing that and then connecting that to like what they're doing, and had a lot of questions around that. So I think that was valuable to get the word out of what CSU is doing itself. But that's about it.
Thanks. Did you want to continue building?
I think, well, yeah, I guess initially I was just trying to be less, I don't know, say less about what I thought and more about what I experienced. But I think something that I just have a personal opinion on is how systemically reversed from everything we're learning about how communities should drive what they want to see changed in their homes and in their communities. Almost everyone I encountered is like, well, my funding says I can spend money on this, and so I need help telling people why this is important, even though they don't think it's important. And so as somebody that presented on, in particular, I presented on work I do with John Volkins, where we have used technology to do measurements, and then we tools for taking indoor air quality measurements and turning them into like nice reports. And I had a lot of people like, oh, can you help us convince people that this is important? And I really resist that. I think that's a terrible approach. That's a personal opinion. This isn't anything more than that. And so I think that's something that I've personally found disappointing, is just how many people wanted to just convince one or two more households that something that they didn't care about was actually something they should care about. And I feel so strongly that that's a flawed and unsustainable way to do work, but they're completely constrained by what they can spend their dollars on. So I'm not criticizing their request. I'm more just commenting on the fact that what they're able to spend money on constrains what they're able to ask for in a way that I don't think drives the kind of progress like we tend to talk about in this like project, you know, in different ways.
Hey, Ryan, does your video mean that you're now?
Yeah. I made it to a place I can sit down at least. Yeah, I think like for me, I was talking with Marilee Long yesterday, and we were both really impressed at how many people like showed up in person. To me, that highlights that like even if that's a group that meets every month, they're a group that like really valued having the space to go to. Which I think that alone matters. And like for CSU, that's good. Like I know they were excited to see what CSU did, but like I think like Tammy, it's worth you knowing that like those things are of incredible value, like just bringing those people in. I think like I would echo other people's things that like we talk a lot about like electrification and energy efficiency, and it did seem like the group mostly like is like about healthy homes. And I think from our perspective, it's like easy to forget that there are like these really large, costly things to society, like smoking and radon and lead paint. And I know we've talked about that a little bit, but they very much seemed like they were focused at like the big dollar items. And maybe that's, you know, partially their funding mandate, but I think that's also because that's where we have the evidence about where we can make the biggest impact, and that's where government tends to put money. So I remember yesterday I was trying to think a little bit like, is there a way we could better connect these things to electrification? I don't know if there is, but you know, if there is, I think there's fruitfulness there. I think the other thing I thought in terms of connections they needed, they were actually fairly similar to us. Like I thought maybe people would like be like, oh yeah, I work, you know, with tons of contractors, and there were more people who were like, I need to know good contractors, and I need to know who the good contractors are and who the cheap contractors are. And so like I actually felt like that was not that different between our group and their group. Contractors are a little bit of a black box. Obviously there were weatherization folks there. But it's a little bit of a separate entity from like the private contractor space, who are doing most of the change in people's homes. And so like that was in some ways like a takeaway of like, for me, I think like going to the home performance conference and like making those connections on our side is potentially also a way we can like assist that community of like developing better understanding of how the contractor space works, and who are quality contractors and how we can help develop quality contractors and then connect them to healthy housing folks. I think that was just way more. I expected the applied people to know more about that than me, and I don't think they did. Trying to think if there were any other key takeaways. Yeah, those were the main ones for me, I think.
And Kartik has a question that chat. Kartik, do you just want to raise it?
Sure, yeah. I was just curious about how other people were thinking about co-benefits of electrification. So are they assuming that there is a co-benefit? Are they measuring co-benefits? Yeah, what's going on? Yeah. Or what was your impression of how other people were doing these things?
I can start, and if anyone else wants to build on that. The few people I talked to about that kind of stuff, I didn't think there was like a strong theory. It was more like, if we make people's homes efficient, they will be healthy. But I don't know that it was like necessarily tied to specific measures, other than like when Paul did his demo, but I don't really like, that's a little bit different. So yeah, I don't know if anyone else had a different opinion.
So I
It was
think,
noticeably absent. Sorry.
yeah,
From
no, I think
conversations, I think.
first of all, that most of these people were not doing energy efficiency or electrification programs. And the exception, I think, would be Energy Outreach Colorado. And then the weatherization folks from, sorry, what is their Mick, and it's like some other Energy Colorado thing. I don't remember its name. So Energy Outreach Colorado is a nonprofit that has done both electrification and in or home quality improvement together. And then I'll be darned, I can't remember their names, but then there were people from weatherization. And then there was the Colorado Energy Office. So there's a couple of people doing efficiency measures. For the most part, this was not the electrification crowd. And that's an issue, right? Is the electrification people are separate from people who are doing home quality. And very few people are thinking about putting them together. At ACEEE, I think we saw more people who were, all the people were on electrification and efficiency programs, and they were referring to non-energy benefits, typically not measuring them, I think. But making reference to the fact that they should be called out. And so there are a lot of people doing electrification or energy efficiency work and saying that it's relevant to lots of other aspects of well-being, hoping that somebody will measure them. And then when you look at the people who are actually measuring home quality, they don't get money from electrification, right? It tends to be two different pots of money unless it's very specific. They almost felt like they were operating in isolation. Like, we have a radon program and there's some other office that might do energy programs.
I would like to add to that. One thing I learned that I found surprising is that at least at City of Fort Collins, they're actually competing for the same money internally.
Oh,
The
I
Healthy
did not
Homes
know that.
program and the energy efficiency program, not because like those two have been pitted against each other, but the way that the climate action tax or money has been pooled, at least what both of those groups told me in different ways, and not like directly because I asked them, but they're like, yeah, we're actually, we have to put together a proposal to compete for those funds against our colleagues. And I think that is emblematic of the kind of fragmentation that exists.
No, that makes sense, because I actually went to one of the program meetings at the city, and they were showing like all the great proposals they got and then how many of them were funded, and like only a few fell above the fundable line.
Thanks for sharing, Tammy, Ryan, and Ellison. Yeah, good to know.
So I feel like it was a lot of people who might be able to answer the question of how do people change their homes in different ways. So those questions might be answerable by this group. The I didn't hear a lot of I'm here representing an advocate for this community, right? There that wasn't this crowd. So I think Ellison, your group is looking for participants in another study to measure indoor air quality. And I didn't get the sense that there was going to be, did you get people signing up? Because I didn't feel like there was a lot of people who were like, yes, my constituents or my beneficiaries are really well suited for that. Give me your number so you can come measure.
We actually, I would say, yeah, I agree with your initial comment. I didn't find that there were people saying like I'm representing a community but we did actually get quite a number of people who, within the population they serve, have a handful, not all, but some that would really like to know more about their indoor air quality. And they thought that those particular people they would like to talk about the study with. So less like our program serves people in this way and this is a good match, and more like, oh yeah, we have some families who would really like to know the information you're talking about. Like, would they be eligible? And so a lot smaller scale, but
yeah, and I think there's also seemed to be an expressed need for the actual measurements. Like Christian had a lot of people ask him if he had a lending library, which is, no, we don't. We would love to, but that is a huge undertaking with trying to maintain quality and calibration and organization and chasing people to get the stuff back. And so I think there's a need for quality measurements that was different, I think, than I guess people want to know the impact of their programs on this side, but it's different than maybe I don't know what it's different than. It's just hard. Any other thoughts? Stacy, do you have anything like that group in Illinois?
If we do, I am not aware of it, part of it.
Do you also have a bunch of, so this was, I didn't tell you about the geographic coverage. So this was people from several counties, probably not the whole state was represented, but a number of counties were represented, like maybe what, 5 counties. So it's still a pretty large area. It was not just Fort Collins. And the way that this type of work is done in different areas is there's not a common structure, organizational structure, right? It could be an arm of the county health, or it could be I don't know how these little offices are decided. Like, how do you decide, okay, we're going to have the public health office and it's here and it's going to cover these things? I think, Ryan, from the beginning, that was one of my interests in having you in this project, because I just felt like this fragmentation of who does the work, not just the contractors, but who is the overarching, like who pulls the strings, or for the little trickle of money that there is, who has their hand on the valve. I feel like it's so so heterogeneous.
Yes. It,
Mhm.
there's not like a great answer. Usually I always teach students like public health stuff is always county. That's who's going to be the chief operator, but that group seems like it's really instigated by the state. And so that's going to be really different depending on where you are and what state you're in. I know in like Washington state, it's like King County tends to lead all that kind of stuff rather than the state.
Yeah, but I think so instigated, I think is a strong word. The leader of the group sits at the Colorado Department of Public Health, but then there was no state mandate that said all of these people shall connect. She just started doing that.
Yeah, but
So
like I think the theory would say like who that person is matters because if you are the state, you have even if it's an informal thing, you have more coordination capability than an individual county.
mhm.
So like there's whole theories of like collaborative governance on these sorts of things that like and like who starts it matters because they have connections.
Got it.
I do think most of them are informal. I actually don't know how much healthy housing groups as like collaboratives have been studied. There's probably a that's probably a whole research topic.
Yeah, I think Paige was looking around for things that were like the Healthy Housing Coalition, and they're hard to find. Like, how would you know? Sorry. So
I'm like,
go ahead,
it's
Stacy.
an interest. Like, could that be a recommendation from this project? Every state should have a Healthy Homes Coalition.
Yeah, I guess it could be a recommendation. I'm not sure that.
I
It-
don't, yeah, I don't think it goes anywhere. But
And then how would you then leverage that right to actually share information? Because I think there's a need to share information, and the group was saying we should have a resource hub. So that's one thing that we may talk about as a group, but that doesn't mean that there is funding for a resource hub or that anyone has the capacity to continue maintaining it.
Sorry, I think it's a really interesting conversation and one where I'm like, oh, here's how this would happen. Oh, I'm gonna go operationalize this in my mind right now, but like that's not really what's
No.
being asked.
We have great ideas for what other people should do.
I do think it's interesting though, like as far as speaking to how things are sort of unique and who starts the thing sort of matters. This is just like a for example, a newsletter went out from CDAC and which is the organization I'm part of, and it was saying, oh, we're really excited to be part of this building resource hub. And I think it's for the Midwest or something. And I'm reading this article and it's like, oh, look, we're listed, our logo was on it. And to be frank, like CDAC is 12 people. I've never heard of this project in my life. I have absolutely no idea what this is, what this resource hub is. So who's
So wait, you were
funding it?
listed
Where is it getting money? Yeah, so we're listed as a partner in some kind of building resource hub. And that sounds like a nice organization that could do healthy housing work or provide resources around contractors and things like that. But we're listed and I have no clue who these partners are. I don't know anyone who's gone to a single meeting for it. So it's just a total flip side of even if the name exists and an organization exists, even the people that are supposedly part of it don't even know that they're part of it or what the thing is. So that communication piece is so key.
Yeah. One of the things I've observed at the university is that we don't have a culture of reporting back. So people will get appointed as representatives to university or college level decision making, and then we never hear from them. But then the whole department is listed as having signed on to this because we had a rep there. But there's no assignment for that person to come back and tell the department, okay, we're going to do this, or Yeah, great, Stacy. Yeah, so I think it's a general organizational problem. I don't know how to fix that. At ACEEE, I was also really embarrassed because somebody was like, "Oh yeah, you're from CSU, you know, you have that thing that I use all the time. It has all these resources." And it was apparently Center for the New Energy Economy, which used to technically Bill Ritter, who's the former governor and is a strong player in that, used to have an office that's like 50 feet from where I sit. But I never once saw the guy, and he hangs out in Denver. And so so these people were all praising our work, and I'm like, what work is that? Ryan, you probably would have done better than me in that conversation, but
Yeah, they keep hiring our students. I think we have like 4 there now. So
right, but we still don't have, like, all the Energy Institute, as far as I can tell, does not have a connection with them until it's time to do a project. They've never approached me. You know, like, I don't get, even though I sit right next to the Energy Institute leadership, they never talk to me about my work.
Huh.
But I go butt into them now, but you know, it's not like there's a collecting body saying, all these people are together, let's figure out how to do better. I think they're trying to do that now,
I
but
do
they
think
didn't.
something like SNE is like it's strange because in some ways it's a state agency that is housed at CSU, which changes like the whole dynamic of it as well. And like maybe they could be a hub for something like this, but I think like they see everything they do as like I don't know, like policy recommendations in a way that this is more policy support that people need, I think, and those are different things.
Understood. Yeah. But I think that experience of hearing that your organization is involved in something,
Yeah.
and you know nothing about it, even if you have something to offer, I think that's very common. And so that's, I'm reacting to what Stacy said there. Yeah, it's like being put on a paper that you didn't know about the project. Anyone else have other questions? I don't know. We did this thing. It happened.
If there, I don't know, this is like going back in like the institutional history of CSU and some of us now, but if there's ever like a sphere 2.0, I do think like that these people need like connecting capacity was a strong takeaway for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something to forget if there ever are like additional ERC proposals or things like that people pursue.
Yeah, I agree. Having done a little bit of this for a while, I am mystified about 2 things. Let's see, for those people who were not involved, a few years ago, we got together under the label of Sphere, trying to put together an engineering research center proposal. So it's like a really large effort on indoor environment. And it was multi-institutional, so not everybody was at CSU. So 2 things. One is, I think, and this is a conversation I want to keep having, I think it's really hard to have meaningful engagement that progresses, right? Not just having people showing up and having their name on as partners, but understanding what they want, understanding what is not there, and actually making progress in ways to serve them. And that involves some failure and retrying. And so that means time. So I find that hard. I think it's a very worthy thing to do. But to me, I would not just put like a huge number of people on as partners. The other thing is, I really can't see that NSF cares, except at the review stage. And so not just this experience, but which was extreme, but most of the other, I really can't tell that anybody in engineering gives the slightest bit of doo-doo about actual community engagement and doing it right until it comes to having a pretty story to tell. Like publicity, great. Community using it, great. But doing that correctly, there is no ethos within that organization. And so I'm not sure I want an ERC is what I'm saying. I don't know that I would want the way we do things to be guided by a funding agency that has so little commitment to doing things right. That's just me. Sorry, that was pretty negative. Didn't mean to put people down. I am committed to trying to do things right. So it's more like I'm looking for the mechanisms that do support that. So I don't really have time to spend like, months or years chasing after somebody's random idea of success. Mechanical rabbit. So I am honestly looking for like who does care. Okay, can we talk a little bit about the schedule? So I want people who have, I'm gonna get it on the screen, but I wasn't ready with it. Nope, here it is. So I want to, we agreed we're going to keep meeting until until like December or so. Oh, and I forgot to say that we do have to turn in an annual progress report. I will be bugging you about that by the end of the month. But I don't think we have to try very hard because nobody's going to even read it. So what I would like to do is two things. I know that people have product targets. I think that the farther away we get from having been funded, the less likely we are to complete those. And so I'd like us to stick to our original deadlines. Just keep running at them. And so where's the chat? Now that I'm screen sharing, I can't. What would be super awesome is for people to commit to making a presentation and use that as an excuse or motivation to move your work forward. And so I've scheduled us out till December 20th. Now I want to point out that I'm going to be gone a bunch. It is time for me to start playing. So I'm out here and all these, I'm putting them in gray. Doesn't mean you can't meet. I will watch any recordings that are made. Oh, and then this is Thanksgiving. But if you want me there, I'm not going to be there those days. Okay. So here we go. Who wants to propose a date for their product in kind of a near final or 80% that kind of level, who wants to target share with a group date?
I could take one of the September dates. I'm kind of flexible on each one. Like if it's next week, it's just going to be a little bit less well done. But I'm making good progress. So I'd be comfortable with that to get groups feedback at least. But the 13th
What's
might
your
be a little better.
13th is better? Okay.
But I'm fine with the 6th. If no one else wants to volunteer for the 6th, I think I have stuff that can be ready to go that the group hasn't seen. So
Give me a light summary of the topic.
so we'll call it like it's like going to be a Denver intermediaries thing. But I have 2 papers I'm working on, and so I don't know which one it'll be.
Okay, cool. And you won't be offended if I watch your thing later?
No.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah, I can take one of the dates in October to give an update for the modeling.
Okay, you want early or late?
Late, I think should be fine.
18th?
Yeah, sounds great.
And I can do one on the paper that Ryan and Stacy and I are going to be working on. There will be others involved, but the 3 of us have met and discussed a little bit about the preliminary stages of the paper. So maybe November 1 for me, and that would be, I guess you could just call it the drivers of change.
Tammy, I think I'll do November 15th. Well, I'm not sure of what, but there will be something to show, I hope.
Is this along the lines of your well-being work, or is it a different direction?
Well, still something well-being related. Just not sure. Yeah.
So I do know, I'm going to try to get Narasimha on here. He shared that he has to do a presentation as part of his process to get tenure. And so that is next week. And I was kind of hoping that we could go. Let's see, Ryan, let's let it settle because Christina's not here. I know that Narasimha has sent his heat pump paper around. But what I was trying to infer was that I know that presentation is really on his mind and is next week. And so he may be willing to get back to some of the things he was working on after that. I don't know what you sense about his commitment level of Kartik.
0 till next week.
I know. Ellison, is there a point when you think you might be ready with that well-being review?
I mean, I think I'm still on track for submission in December, but I don't know what I would have to present. I feel like I've presented on that paper a lot. I think it will be a written thing that gets shared with people with an opt-in authorship. Like that's how I just don't know what I would present.
Yeah, that's fair if you don't want to repeat
If I think if people on the team feel like they can't make a decision about whether they want to contribute at the later stages of like editing and refining, and they need a presentation, I'd be happy to give one, but I don't think I feel like I've presented numerous times and gotten feedback that's been incorporated to the extent possible. I don't know what remains in that regard.
Yeah, that's fair. Thank you, Ryan. Sorry, I didn't realize how far over we were. Thank you, Ryan. So Allison, and everybody, we don't also always have to make these presentation meetings. If you're getting ready to send it in and you feel like you've already presented, I wonder if it would be good to have a working meeting or something where everybody who's on the paper goes through it before and then we discuss final comments. What do you think of that?
An hour session where a bunch of people are in a Google Doc like that?
Yeah. It could be really unproductive. It could be
I'm open to hearing people explain how they've done that in a successful way. That doesn't sound like a productive use of time, I think, for two reasons. One, there's far more people than I've ever done that with. I think when I've done that with one other person, it's maybe worked, but even then it's been both people are fully invested in the product and know its ins and outs. So it's a lot more of like, well, I'm working on this. Okay, what do you think of this sentence? It's a lot more like pointed questioning. So I feel like it could still be that, but then there'd be 5 or 6 people that don't know what they're doing and not a particularly productive use of their time. But part of that could be that I don't have a lot of practice doing an activity like that. So I'm open to doing it if people have some guidance. Otherwise, I think it doesn't sound like a good use of group time, but maybe like, 1 or 2 people that really wanted to be involved in the manuscript.
Yeah, so first of all, I was thinking that people who were not part of the manuscript or did not want to be would not join. So not every meeting has to be relevant or useful for everybody, and that happens all the time.
Yeah. Right.
The other thing is, I don't think with it would be useful to just show up and talk about the document, but if it was close enough to submission that the things remaining are, we need to work out these 5 things. Right. These are things that need to be talked out, but we've never had time to get together.
Okay. Yeah, I could see that
And
working.
maybe it's not useful to schedule that because that's the kind of thing that you only know you're at that point when you are at that point. So you probably can't commit to being there on December 6th, for example. So maybe we should just table that as a potential idea, but not put it on the schedule.
Yeah, I like that idea though, because it could come, that certainly could arise.
But so just for everybody who has committed to present or share, please know that this does not have to be a presentation. Or it could be a presentation, but it could be like, read my paper, I need help answering or discussing this one point. Or people seem to disagree on this. Let's have a discussion about this so I can finish the paper. Earlier in this project, we were at the point where we needed to explain to each other what we were doing. We've already gotten through a lot of that. And so it's okay to switch where you are. I think Kartik, your work comes to mind because you always have these very thick presentations that lead to a lot of questions, and then it's like we don't have time to ask the questions or pound it out. And so I don't know, I might almost say that if you're open to this or thought it would be productive, we could do 2 weeks in a row where you present and then we just talk through the questions. But that could also be very uncomfortable for you. Like, and the next week we will all beat up Kartik.
I think that's a useful exercise though, because yeah, I think these things need such discussions. So yeah, I would definitely be down for like a 2-week showdown. So
2-week showdown. I love it.
Nice.
Okay, and I don't think we need to fill these all in now. I do want to note that when I'm gone, y'all can put like whatever you want. I'm just not gonna do anything. 3 or 4 weeks, it feels like a long time to go without a meeting. And I don't think that we need to fill them in. I just also want to encourage people to take those times to use if you have needed to have a discussion with one person or a group of people. Just place a call for that discussion. We don't have to meet. We just have to stay in touch. Okay, I think we need to be done now. Sorry for running right up to the hour. Thanks, everyone. Next week, if there's no fill-in, I'll talk about what to do for the progress report, which is so exciting.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.